Welcome to another episode of Becoming a Man podcast. Today, I have the honor of interviewing a man that is a father, a girl dad to be specific. He launched a brand that is entitled Daditude, which I have the shirt on today, so I'm representing my guest today. And I believe this was launched after he became a father. We'll talk about more about that as we go through the show. He's a former local celebrity internet judge from a show called The Situation Court. Now, this particular show was centered around opposing views that people go through in everyday situations. But what was unique about this particular court show, not like most of the court shows that we see on television, the people who viewed the show gave the final verdict, while in other perspectives, he gave his point of view just to kind of, help out whatever the situation was on the show. If you want to tune in and check out any of those past shows, you can find those on YouTube. You can also find this brother giving out positive energy. He likes to coin himself as a good energy guy. Based on his traits, I find, or I would say for myself, that his purpose in life is to help people find positive solutions for the conflict that they may face in any given situation. And to sum this all up, he has another project that he is, what would I like to say? He has another project that is underway, and it's entitled Cups of Love, and it has so much to do with his previous projects, and I believe certain things about what he may have experienced in life, or what he may have also seen happen in other people's situations. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to you my guest, my boy, Phil. How you doing, brother?
Good, brother. How you?
I appreciate you, man. I thank you for being a guest on my show today.
Thank you for bringing me in.
All right. I mean, how was that intro, man? Did I cover it pretty well?
You did great, man. You did great.
Okay. Don't be.
I don't need no real introduction, man. We just gonna chop it up.
All right. Don't be shy about it. So, Phil, first, tell me a little bit about like growing up. What was that like? Two-parent home, single-parent home, mother, father, what?
Growing up, predominantly single-parent, mother. Father was near, but most of the time that was depicted on their relationship kind of thing, but never too far. But
you mean if things were good, it was kind of like pops will come around, but if not, if it's contentious,
then the interaction will be less.
Okay.
In that perspective.
Okay. What's your relationship with your father now that you're an adult?
We're cool. No bad blood. Me understanding where my father came from and what he faced kind of helps me understand why our relationship is what it is. So, for me, I try to seek understanding before judgment. So, we cool.
Cool. Let me ask you this. Given your background and certain things that you've created and you are where you find yourself having interest in, I think in today's day and age, there's a lot of debate about what a man should be, what manhood is, and you find that men and women are basically in situations where they're arguing about what that is. What do you think about that?
About what part of it? People arguing about it?
Yes.
So I'll just say how I look at things, right? Anytime I see a woman telling me what a man is, I erase it. Because it's coming from a place of a second view. You know what I mean? Just like I personally don't feel like I can tell a woman what a real woman is. Mm-hmm. Because there's something in you. It's not something you can, you may seem the opposite sex in a certain light, but you have no idea what it takes to be them. But I understand that sometimes people just want to express their feelings. You know what I mean? But I don't take it personal. But if you give me a man with some wisdom and some knowledge and some experiences that I can relate to, I'm more prone to listen to that. You know what I mean? It's just the relativity, how you say, relative side of it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Knowing that he may have had very similar experiences to me from the same perspective. But again, I don't knock the people that do the argument and all that.
Have their point of view.
Yeah, feel good about yourself. That's none of my business. I don't get into the spat. I used to, until I started understanding that social media just gave a voice to everybody. And sometimes they just use it more than they should. Right. So
let me ask you this. Now that you're an adult and you're a father now, and given the relationship that you had with your own father, is there any reason for this daditude? Does that have anything to do with it? Because I've been wondering and sitting back from afar and notice, that this was a brand or concept that you created. I've always wondered, what is the story behind all of this?
Well, it's funny. It kind of connects with the stigma or the conversations that you've heard or seen about dads, especially from my culture. And I came up in a culture where dads were like aliens, right? You didn't see them. So I had no premise on what it was to be that. But as I grew and I started to connect with men like me, all I saw were good dads. And we were having conversations and things like that, and it was like we didn't have a voice. And if we did have a voice, it was a small voice. So I looked at Daditude. It stood for a dad with an attitude. Basically going through the world not having a voice. And that's why I had some shirts with certain slogans that said, I'm more than child support. Things that we felt and voiced, I just wanted it to put it on a loudspeaker. And just to, and it was to make dads feel good. You know what I mean? And it was just a positive reinforcement of what I was enduring and people that were like me. But it actually had nothing to do with my relationship with my dad, because it wouldn't have been if it was based off of that. I rather focused on the good side of where I was at.
One thing that you talked about when you brought up your dad is having an understanding of, I guess, his life, and how that panned out and how that ended up relating or connecting to however y'all relationship panned out. I think that's good, because it took me 20 plus some years to get to a point where I could view my father in the same way, because at one particular point I had a very negative outlook on my relationship with my own father. But later on in life, as like you said, like when you grew, as I grew, I was able to sort of look at the man, then look at his life, and look at how I could decipher the difference between the two, and be more mad at the situation,
Right.
than the actual man. Because my thoughts were like, well, I know God ain't create you to become or be the way that you chose to be because of his own decisions, and I was able to, get to a place of forgiveness, to say, and look at the more positive side of things, like you're doing, which I think is great, and I commend you for that.
Thank you. Same to you, man. You needed that as well, to get to that space, because you just never know how that affects your daily life, how you interact with other people. It's there's little things in us that go undefined, and then by you figuring that out, who knows, that could have mended that little thing to help you find your wife, you know what I'm saying, or be able to connect. You just never know how things connect in our lives that help you in other directions. So, but the first step to me is just seeking understanding.
How were you when you had your daughter?
25.
Okay. So what was that like, becoming or learning that at someday you were gonna have a child in this world?
Funny thing about that is, my mother told me this, and I was too young to remember it, but she said as a little boy I came to her and said, I never want to be a baby dad. So for a child to have that thought process, to me, it's like I was thinking about fatherhood as a child. You know what I'm saying? So even as a child, I think I had a vision of what I wanted my father to be. So I just chose to be that. So it's been a long journey. I just didn't do it the way that I hoped. You know what I mean? But then you deal with that in the process. But I feel like I've always wanted to be a dad. I didn't exactly know how it was going to look or when it was going to take place, but when it happened, I think just seeing the positive stick changed me. That moment I remember, and from there, it just grew.
Is having a daughter, raising a girl, and contributing to that with her mother, how do you think that's shaped you to the man you are today? I mean, you had her when you were 25. You're how old now?
What year is this? 43. Man, my daughter, it's it is the most intimate relationship I've ever had. I never knew how to understand or even connect with a woman's emotions that much, or to care that much. You know what I mean? How you respond, how you protect. All of those little things I just never had until she was born. Dating up to 25 was, you talk, but I wasn't. Intimacy's different. You know what I mean? It's just a higher level of a connection and delicacy. And without a daughter, I don't know if I would have ever had that. Because genetically, I believe I'm a little hard. You know what I mean? I was a boy. I'm football dirty, don't want to shower. Like, I'm that.
Mm-hmm.
So having a girl was like
soften you up a little.
Pink and purple, and I'm black, white, blue. I literally had to train my mind to shop for her I start recognizing her clothes look like my colors, and I had to say, wait, this is a girl. You got to do things differently. you know, and I believe I needed that to soften me up a little bit, because I think I would have, even having a girl, let's just say if I had a boy, I would be a better boy dad because I had a girl first. Because maybe if my son got sad, I might have punched him in the chest. Versus now, I would hug him.
You feel like you've developed a different level of emotional intelligence, and to recognize.
And I believe we're kind of sexist to boys. We feel like they don't need that, but they do. And I would be, again, if I had a boy after her, I would be a better boy dad because I had a daughter first.
You talked about not wanting, or correct me if I'm wrong, not wanting to be a baby dad.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that, knowing that is your situation?
It's disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
And I fought hard for that not to happen after she was born. But then you have to understand that you're not in control of a relationship because it's two people. It's disappointing because I didn't have the opportunity to be the full father that I wanted to be. I feel like
What do you mean by that?
A lot of time was stolen. A lot of, I don't want to have to call and check on my child. I want to walk in the next room and see my child. You know what I mean? And the energy, you know. Now, I've always had, joint custody and things like that, but that's still not full. You know what I mean? And I just took parenting very serious. And then you think of I'm not blind to the fact of what happens to children when you allow another person into their life. So I had to worry about that kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Meaning if the mother got in another relationship, and how is that going to be a balance?
Right. Because now there's another influence. I don't know how that person was raised. I don't know how, the energy they're giving my child. And not to say that they did, it's just the thing that you are now introducing that.
You know what I wonder sometimes, for a lot of brothers who are single and have a child and not married to their child's mother, do they think like that? Do they have that thought process of wanting to be there and looking at the significance behind why he should be there as a father? Because for me, sometimes, given my situation and how I grew up and my father not being around, it baffles me. Even if you don't get married to the person that you had a child with, I've always thought, why can you just walk away or not push or not try, even when there's conflict, even when there are situations, where is the if there has, I'm sure there's been in plenty of situations where there is fight, but my whole thing is never give up, because when I think about how you think or the way you explain your thought process, I'm sure there's a tribe of men who have the same thought, and I'm hoping that this particular interview will bring more of that to the forefront, because I think the internet needs it.
Yeah. So that goes back to us talking about our fathers, right? And seeking understanding. A lot of times people are a product of what they've seen, right? So if they've never seen a father fight for them, because to me, even looking at it, not being not seeing a father raising a child growing up, I had to have a gift from God to make me not follow suit, because it's not something I saw, not something I learned. It was something in me. So for it to be in me, I gotta understand that it's not in someone else. So when you have that understanding, it's like you have some men with insufficient ways of thinking, and everybody's not stern or strong in life aspects. You have some fathers that are only good in relationships. Once they separate, they're gone. But then you have some that when they separate, they're still strong. You just have people built differently. And not to give them an excuse, but it just is what it is. And you find out who they are when times do get rough. When you don't have the perfect scenario, who are you? Mm-hmm. And again, I try not to judge, but it's still sad. Because that child and the mother, because if the mother a child is not supposed to receive love from just one parent. That doesn't build a fully functional person. You have some people that still strive after that, but to give it a more stern opportunity to a mother and a father raising a child, they're getting the ingredients needed to be well-rounded. That's why some of us men, sometimes, some tough guys are actually emotional because they're responding like a woman.
Were you looking at life that way, in a sense of different situations and finding a way to have people, I guess, debate or discuss or argue their point of view, to where you said that people often come to you for advice or confiding you, and what made you want to put it into a show? Did you feel like the show was going to help people get their solutions, even though you weren't necessarily hands-on with hundreds of people in the world?
Well, I think the underlying motive behind it was conflict resolution, right? So I felt like Situation Court could have been translated in your home, right? One of the key things into a disagreement is actually having to listen to the other person. And I feel like when we argue, you're just attacking. And then when you're attacking, you're on defense. When you're doing these things, your ears are closed. So with Situation Court, it had a format where you explained your point of view, and then the other person had to listen without cutting you off. You sometimes you may have a similar opinion, but you're not listening to each other. So the premise of Situation Court, the overall was just like, in the middle of a dispute, let's sit down and hear each other, and then formulate some questions to back up why you feel the way that you feel. Because I have some cases where that were recorded and even put out, where two women had the opportunity to hear each other, and the woman apologized on the set. And I asked the girl, did she ever apologize for that before? And she was like, no, I never heard her apologize. But that format helped bring that out. She didn't even know what to do after. Like, that's what she needed. But when you're upset, temperatures are rising, and you're emotional, you're just attacking and defending. You're not listening. So I just was hoping that if people could look at this format and seeing that there was a constructive way to debate, we could probably get to a better place. We could probably not lose good friends. We could probably still be close to family members. It was a bigger picture to, try to help people solve conflicts. So,
how was Situation Court related to, like, maybe your own personal experiences? Because if I'm correct, in your promo video before you start launching those episodes, you said something about yourself, like you use yourself as an example. And since doing the show, or let's put it this way, when you decided to do the show, were you thinking about how you handled things in the past and how you could have, I guess, done things in a different manner, or what?
I think situation was also a reflection of my nature. I'd rather talk something out than argue, right? But I kept being in relationships where the women were overly emotional and they just would attack me. And I would just be thinking like, if you just listen to what I'm saying, we won't have to go through all of this, or we can find a better way to resolve it. So it was a direct result of my experiences of dealing with people that just don't know conflict resolution.
Why do you think? So you're not the rah-rah boisterous. Why do you think that was a pattern of the type of women that you found what do you think that the attracting that comes from?
Oh, why you do that? I picked that type of woman multiple times.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
And she is definitely an ex off. Like, once I have an inkling of that, dunzo. Because I know what comes with that.
Was the person, were these people feisty? Was it
Yes.
something attractive about, like a
Beautiful women, but just women that are ready to pop off.
was
know
something
what I'm saying?
attractive about that?
Not that, just
okay.
them. Like, physically attractive, but emotionally unattractive. Emotional maturity, or just reservations of, like, before I snap, let me see what's going on. They didn't have that. I think this is happening, I'm responding like this. Even if you're dead wrong. You know what I'm saying? And that's just a trait that I no longer.
What would their perspective be or feel?
I don't know. I think good, because after conversations, some things are admitted, faults, and I'm not afraid to apologize. So there hasn't been too much I had to apologize for, because I would be ready to. But again, some people just react when they're upset. And for me, I think women would test me.
Do you mean some women?
The women that I was in,
Okay.
definitely not all.
Mm-hmm.
But the women that I was with, in the middle of that emotional explosion, they would do the I'm leaving thing. And I'm like, okay. But it's all a test. You know what I mean? But the relationship is now over because of this test. But you reacted off of something that really wasn't, it didn't call for all of that. So then when you reflect a year later, it's like, maybe I shouldn't have done that.
Good question for you. Well, at least I think this is going to be a good question. With having a daughter, having those experiences, and you saying that you're glad that you had a daughter first, because you would know how to handle, I guess, balancing emotions if you had a son. How do you, as a father, in helping raise your daughter, I guess manage that?
Manage what?
Her emotions, because you have to think about the generation that she's growing up in, the way media is, the way music is, the way relationships are now, the age that she is now, and everything that the world is pumping that's negative. How do you, as a dad, point those things out to help her be a well-rounded young lady?
Well, first of all, she saw me in heated moments, and she saw how I carried myself. And in those heated moments, in the middle of them, I saw her looking at me. And then she would say, one time she said to me, how are you so calm in the middle of that? And I was just like, what was I afraid of in that moment? Nothing, right? So if I'm not afraid, I don't need to be acting out of character if I don't feel like my life is in danger. So just how I carried myself, first of all, is bigger than what I say, right? The second thing I've always told her since she was maybe 5, soon as at the age where you're able to have conversations with her, I've always expressed to her that she can never get in trouble for how she feels, which opened the door for her to be expressive, right? And I would hope all of these are examples of the type of man she wants to be with. No matter how she felt, she never got scolded for it. If you feel a way, that's okay, but just understand why you're feeling that way. Don't just feel a way because that's just, you know what I mean? Make it make sense. So me having those conversations with her, I always told her you can never get in trouble for expressing how you feel. With that, and with her seeing my mellowness, I'm just hoping that it influenced her enough to, if she were to express how she felt and a man start snapping on her, that will look foreign to her. That's not how my dad treated me. And that could help her navigate.
And that'll be unacceptable, and she would know how to remove herself.
Right.
Okay.
I didn't hit her for making a mistake. You know what I mean? Those things should be foreign.
You ain't jump down her throat for making a mistake.
Mistakes are I make mistakes. Who's going to do that to me?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? She's a little person. She's not a little nothing. You know what I'm saying? So I think just the example and the way I raised her, and she's cool.
She get
what?
She got, good temperament.
Yeah.
She's about 16, 18. 17? Oh, 18 now?
Yeah.
You're getting old, bro.
Let's talk about something else.
Alright, man. So that's good, man. Daditude, situation court, cups of love. When I'm connecting the dots, you know what I'm saying? Cups of love, and me and my wife have had the opportunity to, dive into this. And it makes me think about love languages. It makes me do self-examinations. It puts my thought process in a different perspective. I think the good thing about me and my wife in particular, prior to getting married, we communicated a lot, which I think is a good thing about our relationship, which makes Cup of Love easy to get into. Because I would say when you're starting to talk about things that are uncomfortable,
awkward,
or that could be awkward, it's not necessarily uncomfortable or awkward because we've already
yes, sir.
Been making those steps prior to getting married. But why Cups of Love? And I'm thinking about Daditude. I'm thinking about situation court. It's something about you, bro. It's like you want people to. You really. I believe you really want people to, like, be balanced and be one.
What do I say, man?
I don't know. Tell us.
I just feel like if you align yourself with positive things, or I feel like I have some things in me that I feel like I can help people. You know what I'm saying? And if I can help people and make money at the same time, that's a win. I can make money and still look myself in the mirror. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to swindle anybody into doing something that's, like, inspire inspiration of progression, in a positive way. Cups of Love is based off of me again. You know what I mean? Where I was in relationships and I gave, and giving is an energy, right? So to give is energy. So if you give without receiving, you're depleting that energy. But it's not the woman's fault if I don't express it. And I didn't know, as a man, you're not taught to ask for. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to just give and take care of the family, but in the same breath, draining yourself. So I look at the board as like, blame it on the board. It's not me. The board is saying, let me write down what I like or what I need you to do for me to feel. You know what I'm saying? It's like a form of a communication tool. It's a communication board.
That'll help you,
yes, sir,
go from being silent to being verbal.
And then on a woman's perspective, and I only know this because I converse with women on a friend basis. You know what I'm saying? They express themselves to me. And then sometimes women yearn understanding. If they tell a man something and a man's not really getting it, or they're forgetting it, either way, it's still not equaling to what they want or what they desire. So now that it's on a board in your face, and with the initials, you're acknowledging that you understand it. Where's the confusion?
Right.
I'm eliminating confusion. When you eliminate confusion and open communication, what can grow but love? You know what I'm saying? So it's just a tool that I believe, I really feel like if it's marketed properly and embraced, I can really help relationships that didn't need to end stay together.
Yeah, I mean, me and my wife, we talked about me and some of my forgetfulness, and writing it down and
seeing it.
Writing it down, it makes so much sense because, I mean, it can translate into other areas of your life. Whether you're planning out your day, you should write it down. Whether you got an idea, you should write it down. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a good reminder, if that makes any sense, to not always try to commit things to memory, especially when you're a person that got a lot going on and you're doing multiple things.
Yeah.
I think
the most important person in your life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And what's funny about that is I watched a video. It's a famous couple. I can't think of their name. It might be the Duvalls or something. And the husband asked her, when you wake up, what do you think about? And she started naming the children, what she got to do, all this list. And he said, ask me that question. And she like, what do you think about? And he was like, you. And she started tearing up because she forgot about him in the midst of all of those things. And it's like the person that's going to ride with you the most you forget about, that's deep. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's not on purpose. You're just letting life come in and mess up the most important part, that connection with your husband or your wife. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when I saw that, it was just like, man, people are going through that because that awkward conversation isn't coming up. And they don't have a constant reminder, is my mate being taken care of by me?
Right.
And it's I also call it the narcissist killer.
Uh-huh.
Because if you present that to a narcissist, they're not going to want to do it. Because now they're accountable for making sure you're okay. And that's not what they want to do. They just want to use you and have you doing for them, and they make excuses. Now, once you look at those cups, one is full and one is empty, that's a different discussion.
You might got something.
Hey, man.
You might.
Working, man.
I mean, I've had my own little side thoughts about me forgetting, not just what certain things that my wife may ask me, and it'd be little simple stuff.
I know.
Like,
I'm a man.
Can you put this picture up? Can you put this clock up? Little stuff like that. It's nothing where it's created any like wild arguments, but at the same time, it is kind of like, it's simple. Like, why did that thought just leave me and I ended up doing something else? But in the long run, those things will start to build up.
Exactly.
And I know for me, I don't want to get it there. And I can recognize for myself and admit, I can be better in those areas. You know what I'm saying? I can, ask, what you need and things like that. And while I do think I'm a good communicator, there are areas of growth with certain things that I need to communicate to my wife that I believe this board can contribute to helping not just myself, but other people in their own relationships. So I just wanted to share that with you. And even though we haven't had it, hold up, I can't call it a game.
Because it's too important to be a game.
I can't call it a game.
How you doing?
I'm calling it a board, but I don't even want to call it a board either. I don't.
Well, it's about to be an app too, so
yeah.
You can call it what you want.
Yeah. No, I can't. I wanted to call it a game.
No, it's not a game.
So I can't call it what I want.
Well, when I say what you want, I mean as far as what it's on a board.
Yeah.
It's not a game.
But I think it's a good concept. I think
great, but it's okay. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, it's okay. My bad. It's a great concept. Right. I think it'll be very useful, especially with people like marriage ministries and things like that. I'm sure you may at some point people might want a book version or an audio version of it. These are just some thoughts I'm throwing out there that you could end up creating along down the line. First we got to make you some money. You know what I'm saying? We got to get the dollars coming in, then we're gonna make some investments in other areas to expand this thing. You know what I'm saying? So just keep that in mind for yourself.
Oh yeah.
So how is dating now? I mean, with the way that you think, is it challenging?
Ridiculously challenging.
Is marriage a thing for you?
Yes, it's a big thing. It's always been a big thing.
But dating is a challenge.
Yeah.
As a single man, single father.
Yeah.
What do you think the most what's the challenging part about it?
For me or for them?
For you.
For me, I have I may have too much knowledge.
On what though?
Behaviors.
Explain that.
Okay.
Too much knowledge on behaviors, because I think I'm a person who likes to identify behaviors, especially when it comes to me deciding, if I'm going to be in a relationship.
Right.
You feel me? So.
So in the past, I would be more accepting because I had lack of knowledge. Right? So now, if a young lady complains about something in a certain way, or it depends on what she complains about. Like I had a young lady that said that I didn't speak nice to her, right? I'm like, I don't speak nice to you. What does that mean? So she said that she has given me compliments and I didn't reciprocate. I'm like, oh, you're not saying I talk to you. You said I'm not complimenting you, right? So when you say this to me, I don't go into attack mode. I go into question mode. Okay, do I not compliment her? And then I'm thinking about this, and then the first thing that pops up in my head, we've been talking for 2 weeks. What is supposed to happen in 2 weeks? And why are you complaining about this in 2 weeks? I don't even know you for real, and you're complaining about me complimenting you, and which I have, but you refuse to acknowledge it. My younger self would say, I can work with that. But my current self is like, you're going to be too much. I'm out of here. You see what I'm saying?
You just cut off. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Do you just go ghost, or do you explain then depart?
No, I let her do it.
How do you do that?
Because she came to the conclusion for me, and I thumbs up the text and said bon voyage. Like, and I'm at it like, I'm not going to attack you. I'm not going to beat you up. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to gracefully walk away. I understand that we don't make sense, and that's okay, because I know how rare love actually is, and this world is built off of Disney. If I'm not obsessed with you, if I'm not doing all of these things and you sit back and receive all of these things, it isn't real love. No, real love is giving and taking. And today's world, if a man asks for a woman to show interest, he's considered sassy. Well, I'm sassy then, because I'm not just going to be giving someone something and not receiving anything. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I know what depleting my energy feels like. And I'm just not signing up for that. You know what I'm saying? I'm willing to give, but I have to receive something. I'm not even saying you got to give as much as me, but I got to run on something. You know what I mean? And today, it's like, you got to give $1 million to get $10, and I go broke that way. And until, I connect with someone that understands me, and we moving together in a similar direction, then I'll be all for it. But until then, I'm not accepting things that I don't deserve.
Do you think your past relationships have created, I guess, the man and how you handle, or I guess what you will tolerate now?
No, what my past helped me do was acknowledge it faster. And that's one of the biggest things as far as, just life, right? Once you have answers, what do you do with them? And the conflict for dating, right? One of the biggest conflicts is I can't expect perfection versus this person's just not for me. So if you don't expect perfection, then it leaves room for them to make mistakes. You know what I mean? So you have to leave room for that, right?
Right.
But then you got to understand if this person's just not for you. So juggling that, it's like, wait, okay, I don't like this about him, but I can work with that. Versus, I'm not dealing with that. You get what I mean?
Yeah. Do you make attempts to be intentional about like how you date now?
Intentional is
maybe let me explain. For example, when I met my wife, my now wife, but when I first had a conversation with her, at the space that I was, I explained that one, I wouldn't waste her time. Two, that if we were going to date, it would be date to end up at the altar. That's how, I guess I would say, direct I was. Because I felt like I was in a period where, as far as growing goes, that it would be wrong for me to date her and waste her time, or date her and realize that we're not going to be compatible, and things like that, and maybe even go down how we may have done in the past. As far as guys, you deal with a woman, you sleep with her just cause you're not gonna marry her or anything like that, and then you move on with your life. But I didn't want to operate like that. My thing was really about, this is how serious I am, because I do want to get married, and I would hope that after us having that conversation, that she would be open to that. That's what I mean by being, I guess, intentional, because I'm wondering if men were more intentional about their intentions, would we have less problems in a relationship?
You being, I mean, because you're almost making it seem like as if men dictate the whole situation.
No.
That's what it sounds like, but
no.
I ain't gonna. Cause you like, if men would do this, and then some women out here is playing too.
Yeah, I understand that.
You know what I mean? So it's
yeah.
both sides, but for me, I love your intention.
I'm just using myself as an example.
What you did was amazing, right?
Let me clarify, because I don't want it to come off like both sides ain't playing. But I also think if you're a single guy, right, and you're being intentional about like what your actions are, right, that could give the other person, the woman, the choice to determine if she wants to go down this road or not.
Maybe.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe or maybe not. You know what I'm saying? Or you could just...
in that scenario, you're hoping that the other person is in the same space. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You could be doing all of this with somebody that's still holding on, hoping that the ex start acting right.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it just depends on where they're at, mentally and emotionally. You can do all of that, and you know, 1 second later you don't hear from them. Right. You just never know.
Yeah.
But the difference between my route and yours, and I appreciate your route. I'm very direct on friendship. Mm-hmm. So with your scenario, I didn't see a friendship stage. It was like, we're going to date, and I'm direct. We're going to, date to get toward the altar, right? For me, it's like, I want to be around you to see if I even like you before I love you.
Right.
Like, people talk about love language. What's your friend language? Mm-hmm. Because I think you're more inclined to hurt someone that you're dating versus wanting to hurt your friend.
Interesting. I will say this, though. With me being, I guess, direct in that way, there, I guess, is a unsaid understanding that a friendship does have to be developed.
Okay.
We do have to understand that we do have to get to know each other in order to even get to the altar in the first place. But my point was, I'm not gonna play around with that. You know, I'm not gonna play around and then my actions, of course, actions have to come out after that. Mm-hmm. I want to show you that my actions will follow suit so that we can get to the altar.
Yeah, I feel like you saw something to her.
Of course.
That made you.
Of course.
Like, you would. Yeah. You're like, look, I ain't playing with you. We need to make this work, kind of thing. Yeah. And sometimes a person can bring that out of you.
Yeah.
For me,
I think God aligned it for sure.
Hey, and it worked. For me, I don't know, man. I don't have all the answers. You know what I mean? Right. But I know, for one, I need to be I need to rock with you. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And I need you to rock with me. And that, I don't even want to talk about relationship. We could talk about, it's a conversation, but I need to know, if we're in a serious room, are you and I going to laugh at our own private joke? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Can I be unapologetically me and you embrace it? You know what I'm saying? Do you laugh at my jokes, or do you think I'm silly and corny? Yeah. You know what I mean? Me, genuinely, like me, forget love. And I always tell people, one key to a long relationship is the second like. I feel like you like someone, right? And that like turns into love. And then once you love somebody, you get comfortable, and then some people wind up hating their mate. But after you love them and you like them again, I think you're good. And some people skip both of those likes. It's like, oh, let's get married, or oh, let's be together. and that process is destroyed, where you're not getting a chance to really even understand that person. So for me, it's just like, I need, not want, I need to know that I like you. Like, if you, I'm talking about like somebody, whereas though, if you don't want to date me, I still like you as a friend. You know what I'm saying? Not whereas though we break up and I hate your guts. Like, if I like who you are, why would I want to let you go? That just makes sense to me.
Yeah, it makes
you know
sense.
what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
it makes sense.
If I like you, like, why would I let you go like that?
Yeah. What's the most irresponsible thing you've done as a man?
Irresponsible thing I've done as a man. See, this is why I needed a prep, because I don't know what in the world is that one.
Oh, you not no angel.
I'm not. But you said the most. I got a list of things.
Okay. Let's take most out.
I had a child before marriage. Because it doesn't guarantee anything, but it gives the suggestion that we took the steps to possibly have a forever union, to be able to raise a child together. That is probably my biggest, what was it? Irresponsible move, yeah.
Most responsible.
Most responsible is never quitting on my kid. Even when times were like, why am I dealing with this? Not dealing with my kid, but dealing with what came.
The situation.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah, I say that's the most responsible.
Dope. And I want to say that to wrap this up, from observing from the outside, you know, from the situation court, from the Dattitude to even this Cups of Love, with not knowing like how you think, but having this interview to like deep dive, I think what you're putting out to the world is responsible, because I think the world needs it, you know. And I'm going to say this to the camera. Now that we know how Phil thinks, maybe there's some young lady out there that might can be compatible with my bro. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to leave that out there. So we're going to leave it at that. But Phil, for sure, man, I appreciate you. I thank you for coming out and being a guest, man. And let's put some more responsible content out there in the world. Appreciate you. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir.